Hello and welcome everyone to the next episode of Essydo podcast. My name is Emre Shenturk. I'm your host and founder of Essydo magazine, the online magazine for all of you who want to read something that you cannot read anywhere else. Non-descriptive content, analytical content, great discussions and great dialogue as far as my vision and mission of this magazine is concerned. Today I'm back with a very interesting episode. I think this topic interests a lot of you, or at least many of you engage with this topic several times a day. If we think in contemporary terms, I cannot really put it into perspective of the in the historical context, or also just talking kind of a feeling that I get when browsing and scrolling through social media, news sites, TV programs, occasionally for research purposes. Of course, not consuming television sources myself. What is this topic? This topic is about motivation. Motivation is a concept that many of you hear about quite frequently, and I think it's a scam. Plain and simple. I think motivation, or the concept, the idea of being motivated in order to do something, is a scam. Is something that is not really. I think it's kind of artificial, and I will put it into perspective of why I think it is a scam. What purpose does it serve? But also, on the other hand, telling you what I think are the sources, or kind of the concept that we need to focus on in order to become better people, in order to become more successful. And I put success in terms of not monetary or material success, but cognitive success, meaning that how can I advance cognitively, how can my brain work better, and how can I achieve more on the cognitive scale, as opposed to material things like, I don't know, going to the gym or making money, something like that. So starting off, I think, or the interesting thing is, the concept of motivation has been very prominent in social media, and also the term influencers. Those people who kind of that are followed by other people. I'm very bad at describing how to put it into words, but people who are influential in terms of the content they share. Motivation always has, or for a lot of them, holds a very central place, right, in their content strategy and communicating these things to other people. And usually, those people use those things, or this content, these statements, the mindset, in order to, they readily consume it, they like it, and they think, or they put some kind of quality label on these kind of things. It's like a buzzword. You say motivation, you say mindset, you say hustle, and all these kind of things are buzzwords that catch people, apparently, because those influencers have not only vast amounts of influence, but are successful in what they do. They can promote it. They make a living off of that. And obviously, I wanted to look into that a bit more deeply. So why do I think this whole concept is a scam? Is there was this first indicator that I had, or the first observation that I had, that led me to think that this is a scam. Because whenever you scroll through the social media platforms, whatever there might be, the topic motivation is always linked to some kind of physical or material achievement, right? So if you go through the sources, like 80 to 90% are linked to values or achievements like money, or the physical achievement, going to the gym. Mostly it is this, to kind of get yourself out of the laziness mood and go to the gym, engage in a physical activity and progress as you go along. So it was very prominent to see that these kind of topics, or the topic of motivation, meaning to be very ready and to really go enthusiastically into some kind of action and exercise it, has been tied to these material or physical achievements. And I think that's kind of interesting to think about, that we're only tied to something that is quite easily realizable. I mean, going to the gym doesn't really require much of cognitive input or cognitive how can I say, development, or it's not a very cognitive challenge, right? You just get up, put one foot before the other, just walk to the gym, just lift the weight and come back. Same goes with the money making thing. I mean, it's a bit more complicated, because if money making would be that easy, everybody would be rich. But in the end, finding a job, working well, doing a great job there, and slowly scanning the career ladder is not something that sounds too difficult. So this is the first thing that I thought, okay, well, motivation. All right, I'm hearing a lot of stuff about it, but why always material? And then I started to think about other stuff that is actually very complicated and that requires a lot of energy to do. I mean, we can think about a lot of scientists, right? I never heard a Nobel Prize winner of physics or chemistry or whatever saying, I was very motivated to do this, and I also cannot imagine Albert Einstein getting up in the morning saying, I'm very motivated to find a theory or to formulate the theory of relativity. It just does not fit the picture of motivation that is painted to us through the media channels. And these two aspects combined led me to formulate some kind of logic that is behind that. And I think that this motivation concept, or communicating motivation to people on such a large scale, is actually meant to produce the adverse effect. It is not that people are encouraged to play chess. It is not that people are encouraged to engage or make experiments in chemistry, biology, physics, or stuff like that, right? Those people don't need to be motivated. They just need to be interested in something, right? They have an interest. They kind of develop this interest more and more, also bolster it and support it with technical knowledge and dedication, obviously consistency, but this is always driven by interest, not by motivation, right? So what happens when you have a large-scale medial agenda that pushes you, or actually feeds you with this concept to be motivated? And I mean, it's not just videos and statements and talks and stuff like that. It's also quotes. It is the very superficial exchange between people, or the very superficial communication between people to kind of engage in something that is just a very limited and temporary action, meaning the gym, meaning material aspirations, and so on and so forth, but never something that goes beyond that. And interestingly, I mean, this is just complementary thinking if you put it in perspective of what a lot of people from the business world are saying you don't need a degree, you just need to be hardworking and this and that. It also supports the broader thinking that these kind of cognitive achievements and the cognitive development of yourself is not that very important. If some people like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, the richest men in the world, can openly communicate, say, okay, well, it's not too important to have a degree. I mean, just be a good worker, be a hard worker, you'll be fine, be interested, be motivated, and that's it. I mean, that's a very alarming sign. So I think there is a broader agenda to just reach the adverse effect for people not being motivated and engage in cognitive development. And then there's the second stage of kind of like the second content level of these kind of contents that are being communicated to the broader public through social media. The one is, as I said, the first level is motivation. Come on, be motivated and stuff. People actually don't feel motivated. They just feel when they consume these kind of statements and this kind of content that they have achieved already something, right? Next time they go to a friend, they say, I thought about it. I need to change my mindset. I need to be more hardworking. I need to go to the gym. I'm going to change my life. And especially around this time, the new year, people are extremely motivated, right? They're not building up habits. And in the end, they fall back into something, into the consumer situation again, where they are just consuming all those statements and saying, okay, well, I am that, and they're projecting the content that they consume onto a situation that they are not really in because they are not actually developing the situation. So this is the first step. And in the second step, and this is somewhat tied to what I said just before, is that people, not only among themselves, but also within themselves, and also with the platforms and the information and the content they're engaging with, are the quality of the content is very superficial, right? And they act or they treat this content in such a way that awakes the feeling that this is some kind of high quality content. It is very prominent when we think about quotes that are being published and posted on social media platforms, because this has been a trend for quite some time, when people have like this historic quotes by great thinkers and stuff. So they post a very limited thought or a statement that has is just being tied to a very limited thought, or it's just a snapshot of a very complex thought, and they engage on a very superficial level with this kind of content and communicate it as if it would be the deepest wisdom out there. And again, this has the same effect as the motivational thingy, right? The concept of just consuming it and projecting this kind of content onto the personal behavior which is not present. Meaning, for example, there is, I don't know, might be a movie quote, might be a quote of a philosopher, just one or two sentences, not more usually, and something like, you have to get up every morning, work hard, and I don't know, be a good person, or something like, being a good person is better than being a rich person, or stuff like that. Like, very plain and simple. It's extremely superficial. It's not like obviously it carries a deeper meaning and stuff, and it has also, in the context of what it has been said, a very complex outset and composition, of course. But people in the broader public, or the broader public is not engaging with this content on that level. In contrast, they say, "Oh, yeah, that's true, right? That's very true. If I'm a good person, that's better than being a rich person." And that's the end of the discussion. That's the end of the argument. There's no inference drawn. In hindsight, there's no contextual analysis. There's also no process tracing, what the cognitive processes of explicitly developing into this person means. What does or what makes a good person is not defined, and these kind of things. So it is just, again, from a very complex world, like there's a snapshot from a very complex world that has been pulled out, given to people who have no genuine interest of engaging with high quality and complex content, right? And they project it because they read it, they consumed it, because they consumed it once, they think that they are also cognitively able to deal with those matters and communicated on a very deep philosophical or scientific level, which they are not. It is just, we can make the comparison saying if I eat an apple once, I'm living a healthy life, I'm a healthy person, right? This is not going to happen. You have to be consistent, you have to go very pretty much into detail when talking about these things. And these motivational quotes, they are not as prominent as the concept of motivation within the media landscape that we are engaging with today, because they're just there. And I think it's more or less complementary to all the content that is out there. But nonetheless, both things describe the same phenomenon, more or less. The broader public, or like the common person, consumes stuff, like on the content level, consumes information, breaks it down to like a very simple core or a very simplified core, and then projects this core without acting upon it onto him or herself, making or invoking the feeling that they have achieved something. And then when those two people meet, some friends meet and they talk about it and they exchange those very basic ideas and statements, that you can virtually find everywhere. It's like those people who put this live, love signs up on their kitchen wall, right? Meet and discuss, there's such a deep meaning here. You have to live, and then you have to laugh, and then you have to love as well. These kind of things happen on the content level every day, and people come together and exchange those very simplistic ideas without actually communicating those ideas. And this is why I think motivational quotes, and all these stuff, also philosophical quotes, if you're not very into these kind of things, are very detrimental to cognitive development, because they give you the feeling that you're already smart, which you are not, and you're not engaging with those subject matters at the deepest level envisioned by the original writers. And therefore it's a scam. It keeps you calm, it keeps you in your place, it just brings you to the door of the gym and back home. Nothing more. Nothing more happens. I feel motivated, I feel good, I feel great, I will do this, I have this and this mindset now, this is my work ethic. This is all a complete scam. Because if you're really interested in something and you are mature enough to say, okay, I'm going to develop this field in this and this way, then you're going to do it. You don't need to be motivated. You don't need to push yourself. You don't need to put yourself into a constant mode of stress, saying that you have to do stuff. If you're interested and intrinsically driven by it, you'll just do it, and the outcome will be great. I mean, in my book, DEVLET, I describe this phenomenon, and I think it's not much to it other than just doing it, right? And obviously, the important thing is to really dig deep into those matters. I'm talking about cognitive matters, because I'm just leaving the material and physical aspects aside, because I don't think it's very worth to dig so deep into discussing how you develop your body and become stronger and all these kind of things, and putting so much energy into thinking that you need motivation in order to do physical activity. Just go and lift this weight. I mean, there's really nothing to it. I'm just talking about the cognitive things, as I said, science, chess, philosophy, politics, societal studies, behavioral studies, sociology. Incredibly interesting fields of knowledge, and also where you can develop yourself. All right, so what is the way to go? Yeah, how can we approach it? I've been criticizing all those motivational things, the concept, and also the very superficial treatment of philosophical quotes. What can we do in order to overcome it and somewhat swim against the medial agenda of just staying in your place? It is, again, the hard route, as always. I mean, it is always that way, that when you have the hard way and the convenient way, that you always have to go the hard route in order to go to a place that is worth going. So in this case, it is just really deeply engaging with very complex stuff. Read the classical writers. For example, if you are into economics, read Adam Smith, right? Read Milton Friedman. Read John Maynard Keynes, right? Read those people. Read the economic history of many empires. Yeah. Read the Babylonian Empire. It's actually the first one that kept track of all the stuff they did within the trade, within the trade system they had. It was one of the first advanced trade systems that we had on Earth. Read about these kind of things. Read about Ottoman taxation, also important situation when you think about public administration and economics. Read about all this stuff. Read Machiavelli. Read Thomas Hobbes, and read Rousseau. Also read, if you're into religion, read all the 3 Abrahamic books. Read about Buddhism, Hinduism, and all that. Read into it, read it 2, 3, 4 times, make notes, and ask yourself, what does that mean? What does that mean in the context? And I think it's very important that whatever we read, we also read the historical developments and understand the historical developments of that time, whatever they are. And obviously, go into the details of reading if you are into science, and this is very important. It does not matter if we talk about biology, physics, or chemistry. If you are into those kind of things, obviously go and read what the experiments and the study is about. Also read about the outcomes, but don't trust the outcomes just like that. Whenever you read about a study, a scientific study, the most important thing you have to do is read through the methodology part of that very study. Because if it's an academic and scientific study, they'll have to outline you the methodology. And through that methodology, you'll understand whether this study is actually useful or not. So obviously, yes, the introduction, the setting, and all the explanations around them, very important, as well as the outcome, probably the thing that everybody looks forward to read, the outcome of scientific studies. But the most important thing is, how do they get those results? Because if you're just reading the outcomes, you're not better than those people sitting on Instagram looking at a motivational quote and thinking, yeah, that's so true and that's so right. Yeah. So I think this whole motivation and quote sharing and superficially engaging with this content is a complete scam. Just leave it. You know, this is a very bad habit. Take your time, take the energy, invest the energy in really digging deep into those matters that interest you. And I totally skipped like the the aspects of art and music, for example, or even sports. Also there, dig deep into the stuff that you're engaging with. Read the history. If you're a drummer, read about the history of this instrument, right? Read into it. Try to understand how it developed and all this stuff. This is just an example. If you're an athlete, read into the history of your sport. Read into the history and the anatomy of your sport. You know, what are the technical components behind it? So this is when you really start to make developments. And once you're at that level and engaging at that level with whatever you do, you're cognitively developing into the right direction. And this is what makes you a good person. And this is what makes you a knowledgeable and wise person. Not just sharing some stuff and saying, I'm motivated and stuff. Because at that point, when you intrinsically go into those subject matters that interest you, you really dig deep, you dive into it. At that point, you will never ever hear from yourself again that you are motivated or you're not motivated and stuff. You just forget it. And then retrospectively, a couple of years later, if somebody asks you, hey, do you feel motivated today? Say, what kind of motivation? I don't need that. And I've been good for a couple of years now. So in order to get you there, I think this episode, I hope that this episode brought you one step closer to what I've been trying to say. Keep in mind, motivation is a scam. Motivational quotes and all this kind of stuff is a scam. Social media and the media landscape wants to keep you in check. They want to keep you where you are. But I hope you don't. And I hope this episode helped you to do the next step. My name is Emre Şentürk. I hope to see you next time for another episode of Essydo podcast. So take care. Have lots of success. See you around. Bye.